Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
New Thought Media Network proudly presents the 2025 season for Nonviolence Meditation Series, January 31st through April 4th. Embrace nonviolence every day with our 64 unique video meditations. Join us at 6 a.m. Mountain Time or watch anytime on our YouTube channel. Featuring a collection of New Thought voices, the 2025 season for Nonviolence Meditation Series. Only on New Thought Media Network. January 31st through April 4th.
New Thought Media Network is pleased to present The Inclusive Church, Ideas and Resources for Leaders of Multicultural Ministries. The Inclusive Church with Tracy Brown. Tuesdays at 12 noon Mountain Time. Join Tracy and her guests as they go deep and share practical tips and resources you can use in your ministry. And now let's explore the Inclusive Church with Tracy Brown.
Hey everybody, Tracy Brown here. It is just after 12 noon Mountain Time, and whatever time it is where you are, I am so glad that you have joined me here together today. Or you could be watching the recording at a later time, and I'm still glad you have joined me right now. So welcome to the Inclusive Church. We kick off season 2 today, the first real diving in for 2025. And I am so happy to be focusing just for a few minutes today on another aspect of what it means to be inclusive in our spiritual communities. Just in case there's somebody watching for the first time, 2 quick things to give you some idea about the show. One, we talk about the inclusive church, but we're not talking about a building. We are talking about a community, church as a community, church as a gathering of people who come together to learn, practice, study, share, demonstrate spiritual principles. And the other thing that happens sometimes with the language is I'll refer to leaders a lot, and I just want to be sure you understand I am not using leaders as a synonym for minister. I believe everybody in our spiritual communities who leads a team or who contributes financially or who serves on the board, everybody who is consciously and intentionally working for the betterment of and the ability for that church to serve and grow is a leader. So, having said that, what are we going to talk about today? Well, it's January, right? We're in the first week of January, And we just completed the busiest holiday season of every year, from Thanksgiving through New Year's. There are so many different things that we celebrate. And some of them are religious or related to religion, and some of them are related to culture. I would say all of them are related to culture, because actually our religions, our spiritual belief systems create cultures as well. And so I was thinking about how, throughout the year, we may talk about, ideas to remember, things to think about as you are preparing for holidays or for cultural celebrations. But I wanted to do this one episode specifically about 4 things to think about with celebrating holidays throughout the year. Thanks, Anita, for being with us today. And if anyone else wants to put in the comments or in the chat that you're watching or where you're watching from, that would be great. So in the upcoming book, Inclusive Church, there's actually a section that is titled Celebrating Holidays. And there are 4 chapters, I guess you would call them. I mean, they're only going to be maximum 2 pages each, but there are 4 subsections in this section on celebrating holidays. And so I want to talk about those 4 key things today. And one more introductory comment. We may have just completed a really busy holiday season, but even in this month of January, we have the Martin Luther King holiday coming up. We have President's Day coming up. We have a day for the transformation or the healing of racism coming up. We have the beginning of the season for peace and nonviolence coming up. And then February's Black History Month, March is Women's History Month, et cetera, et cetera. So the comments I'm sharing today are not just about the holidays that have ended. It's about recognizing and preparing for the holidays that are coming up and the different cultural celebrations that you may be planning to host in your spiritual community. So let's go. The number one thing won't surprise any of you who have been hanging out with me any length of time. The number one thing is to align whatever you choose to do with spiritual principle. Number one, align it with spiritual principle. So if you are planning an event for Martin Luther King birthday holiday in a week and a half, go back and check what you've planned and how can you connect it to spiritual principle. And there are dozens of ways, right? So it's not like every cultural celebration has only one spiritual principle that it's aligned with. No, there could be many. Thinking forward to Women's History Month coming up in March, if you're planning an event or if you're planning to do weekly or daily social media posts highlighting women who have achieved, how does that align with spiritual principles? Is it aligned to recognizing that every person brings value and worth, and then you are focusing on women as an example? Is it aligned to a spiritual principle that is related to wisdom, and you're going to focus on women who have been leaders in your particular spiritual movement. I mean, there are dozens, if not hundreds, of ways you can link it. However, you have to consciously choose and then make the link and then tell people about it. Like include that in your marketing material or include that in your promotional material or in your social media posts. Highlight the spiritual principle that is related to what you are doing or who you are featuring. Number one. So, whatever the holiday, whatever the cultural celebration, please intentionally and consciously align what you are doing with spiritual principle that is related to what your community teaches and values. So, number one, align with spiritual principle. As I said, that won't surprise any of you who've been following me for a while, because I really bring it up a lot. And I don't think, let me take that back in. I was getting ready to say, I don't think you should do anything related to inclusion without integrating it with spiritual principle. Like that's the only reason to do it. I'm really standing on my soapbox around aligning with spiritual principle, because if you fail to do that, there will be many people inside and outside your spiritual community who will make up their own story, and they will assume you're simply being politically correct, or they will assume that you're doing it because of a political reason rather than a spiritual reason. And I'm not saying political reasons don't exist. They do. But you are a leader in a spiritual community. And so as a leader in a spiritual community, your job is to link what you're doing with spiritual principle. Yes, I'm complete with that for this moment, because I want to jump over to reason number 2, or thing to consider number 2 as you are planning to honor or celebrate different holidays throughout the year. Number 2, education outweighs entertainment. Oh, I am so glad I can edit on the spot. Outweighs entertainment. Save and show. So, education outweighs entertainment. One of the examples of this for me, I will go backwards, not to Kwanzaa 2024, but Kwanzaa celebration I attended 10 years ago. But it's one of the things that really helped me hone in on how important this one particular tip is. I went to a Kwanzaa celebration that was integrated into a Sunday service. And this community, this spiritual community, had done an amazing job. They had found and hired a local group of African drummers and dancers. And they had identified someone in their community who was Black, and they poured libations, and they had 4 or 5 people, everyone who was on the platform that day, to wear something African in Afrocentric in their attire, in their clothing, and how they showed up. And the drummers and the dancers were very entertaining, and the libation piece was educational, but it was very short. And the fact that people wore something Afrocentric, it looked really good. But at the end of the service, and then asking people a few weeks later what they got from the Kwanzaa celebration, what they got was entertainment. Well, we loved it, the dancers. Oh, we thought the drummers were great. And everything was so colorful. And right, but they did not remember one principle from Kwanzaa. They had no idea how that Kwanzaa celebration connected to or shared anything with the spiritual principles that they teach in that particular community. None of that. And so it was very entertaining, but people didn't really know anything about Kwanzaa. So education outweighs entertainment always. Now, I understand that sometimes to educate, you do need to entertain, but please find the balance and make the balance be stronger on the education side more so than the entertainment side. This happens, Black History Month is coming up. This happens with Black History Month a lot in all kinds of organizations. Oh, well, we're going to serve soul food at the reception, or we're going to bring in a gospel choir or feature a gospel music song in our Sunday service, because it's a Black History Month. Yeah, well, good luck with that. I say good luck with that because it's not bad. It's not bad to entertain the people who come to your events or to your services. It's not bad. It's not bad. You're not going to be in trouble. But if you think about throughout the year, what is your goal? Then your goal is to educate people, and in combination with number one, in alignment with the spiritual principles you teach all year long. So using both of those two examples, it is easy to connect the 7 principles of Kwanzaa with 7 spiritual principles. Do that in some way, right? It is easy to look at Black History Month and then connect the honoring of Black leaders in your industry or in your spiritual tradition, or to use principles like harmony, love, unity as the foundation for what you are doing or why you are doing whatever you're doing. So, number one, align with spiritual principle. Number two, remember that education outweighs entertainment. And then number three, use multiple experts. What do I mean by that? Well, let me tell you a couple of stories that led me to this advice for you. I was working with a corporate client, a business client, and they had decided that Juneteenth was a thing. And they were based in Texas, and Juneteenth has been a thing in Texas for centuries. And so they decided that they were going to celebrate Juneteenth that year. And this was way before it was a national holiday. And so the person assigned responsibility for coordinating the celebration went to the internet and went to a large reference site on the internet. And they found something that said, to celebrate Juneteenth, you should serve fried chicken, watermelon, and cream soda. Or red soda, not cream soda, red soda. And so they made sure that they hired a caterer to serve watermelon, fried chicken, and red soda. And other than that, the only other thing they did was they had some little takeaway things like half page piece of paper, but circular. So like a 5 or 6 inch circle that had, Happy Juneteenth and some images of Black people. And they had those around and they were giving them out to people and they were so proud of themselves. And the reason I know about it is because I got a call the next week and they didn't know what they had done wrong. And they had so many of their Black employees who were really upset and angry. And they had a number of white employees who made comments about watermelon and fried chicken. And that further offended a lot of the Black employees. So what did they do wrong? They relied on one source and they took that one source as correct because it was on the internet. So they quickly found out by listening to the employees who complained that there was a lot of depth of meaning of celebrating Juneteenth that had been missed. And part of that is because they didn't go to a source that actually celebrated Juneteenth and knew something about it. If they had not gone to any employees and only looked on the internet, I always suggest to people look at a minimum of 10 things on the internet. And then once you see 1 or 2 pieces of information are being repeated over and over, then do some more research on those 1 or 2 pieces of information to verify them. And when at all possible, go to people who actually celebrate that holiday from that tradition and ask them what they know, what they do, and most importantly, ask them, what are the 3 most important things about this celebration? And when possible, talk to at least 5 different people. And I had a client say to me, that's a lot of work. We just want to celebrate the holiday. Okay, great. Well, if you want to honor a tradition and you don't know about it, then you have to do your research, or you have to have some people do some research. So that was one of the situations that made me go, oh yeah, use multiple experts. And I tell people that even when they come to me, and I know a fair amount about a lot of different cultural celebrations from my own tradition and from many others, because this is the work that I do. But I don't even trust myself as a sole expert. When people will ask me, I will say, here's what I know, and here's what I think is really important. And I really want to encourage you to either verify that, with 4 or 5 web-based research resources, or I want you to talk to at least 4 or 5 other people and see if they bring up the same things. Use multiple experts and don't even just rely on yourself and what you know, even if it's something that you have celebrated your entire life. Because what I've learned is that when people live in different parts of the country or live in different parts of the world, there's some nuances. So even with, Juneteenth, since I just used that one, with Juneteenth, I had never heard of Juneteenth until I moved to Texas. And so then I, began to learn some things about it. But in the last few years, as it has become a national holiday, when I've done research, I have found so many different traditions in the Northeast or in the Midwest or on the West Coast. So please, I'll stop lecturing you. But please use multiple experts. And I told you that I would share 4 things that I want you to keep in mind when you are planning to celebrate holidays or have cultural celebrations. And the first one was align with spiritual principles and make that known. Number 2, education outweighs entertainment, and why that's important, especially in the context of our spiritual communities. And then number 3, use multiple experts. So number 4 is return to your why. Now, in this context, I'm talking about the why. Why are you committed to being inclusive? Why are you choosing to honor this particular month or week or day? So if you are planning to do some activities or host some events during Pride Month in June, what is it about honoring and recognizing Pride Month that is important to your community and to your spiritual system, belief system? So return to your why and weave that into your promotional materials. Weave that into your platform announcements. Weave that into your newsletter description of what you are doing. And the reason is the same as the reason for number 1. If you don't tell people, they will assume that you are simply doing it as lip service. There will be people who will assume you are simply doing it because, everybody else is doing it. And it's just something that is now expected. Or they may assume, oh yeah, I've been to that church and they are just doing it to appease their LGBTQ plus members. Be clear about your why. Return to your why for being inclusive overall, and then communicate that. So, as we are kicking off season 2, year 2025, we started this year with these 4 things related to celebrating holidays or cultural events. I really hope that as you are beginning to plan your 2025 celebrations, that these 4 things will help you be more inclusive, but also encourage others in your spiritual community to understand why being inclusive is so important. So again, align what you are doing with spiritual principles that are in alignment with your spiritual belief system. Number 2, really focus on education and educationally linking the group that's being celebrated or the focus of the event to your spiritual system. And it doesn't mean you can't have entertainment, but wrap it in, make the connection, or as we tend to say, make it make sense. Number 3, use multiple experts. Don't rely on one source, whether it is a web-based source or a person. And number 4, return to your why. Return to your why over and over again. So today's featured theme, 4 things to keep in mind when planning holiday events. I hope that there is one nugget that has been helpful for you that you can use in order to demonstrate your commitment to being inclusive in 2025. My name is Tracy Brown. I am so glad that you joined me today, and I really hope you'll join me again next Tuesday at noon Mountain Time. And between now and then, please check into the New Thought Media Network throughout the week for other spiritual and educational information. Bye for now.
Thanks for watching The Inclusive Church with Tracy Brown. Join us again next week at 12 noon Mountain Time.